Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, April 1st, 2014. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I have to announce that under Mass General laws that this meeting is being televised, taped by East Long Meadow Cable Access and also by the Selectmen's office, and I have to ask if anyone else in the audience is taping this meeting. Seeing no one, we can proceed. Our first item is a public forum, and we have one person signed up for the public forum, and that's Mr. John Turner.
And then just point.
You came to say goodbye to me.
I didn't even know it was up. Okay.
How are you?
Okay. Is this on? Okay.
Yes.
I have no idea because I don't have a monitor speaker.
Oh, okay.
But it was pointed towards you, so I figured I should point it towards me. Okay, I'm here again on the same issue, and it's been a long time, and I've learned a little bit in that time. I've read the laws. I've got more copies of the laws and the bylaws, and I've gone through them. And the one thing I can't understand is that I've got all sorts of hoops and whistles to jump through. And when I first came, I came with pictures and addresses on the pictures. And you told me to just make a list of the addresses and the problems and sign it and give it to Mr. Hellier, which I did, which is by law all you have to do. Okay? And then 4 months later, I was told I had to redo all of those things, which I really didn't have to do.
Well, there is a state form that
But I wasn't given that form.
Well, you were after a time, and we've been through all this.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to go on, and you've been telling me for a number of months now that all of these things that people have written letters, they've got letters, and they're not in compliance with the laws, that they had all appealed those. You said those were under appeal. The owners had appealed. Okay.
Well, I assume, yeah. I mean, I didn't tell you that, but I assume that some of the land or the residents who had an issue appealed any judgments against them. Okay. And I know that they haven't all won. There's some that are still being fined. So
there haven't been any appeals, I was told.
Okay.
I went to the Board of Appeals and I asked how many people had with a list, and I said, how many have appealed? And they said none.
Well, I know one actually went to court, so that's not true. So, but go ahead.
Okay. And I just want to know if there's ever anything going to be done. I mean, he's got all sorts of things he hasn't looked at. By his job description, he's supposed to look at those within 3 days, after 3 days.
Well, I know, I mean,
and he's supposed to get a letter to me.
I did talk to him today, and I know there were a number of them that were looked at, and some were deemed that there was no violation, and I know.
And I gave you a letter last time I was here.
I know, but we told you the process from there was to go to I believe the Planning Board or Zoning Board of Appeals.
Which I have to go through it again because I have only so many days, and this is past the number of days I have.
Right.
So I've got to go through the whole thing again. But I've got things that I gave to him over a year ago, and he hasn't even got to them.
Now, I guess I know Selectman Bronski's been sort of keeping an eye on this, and I didn't think that there were any or many that he hadn't gotten to. As a matter of fact, I spoke to him today, but go ahead.
So there are letters that are due to Mr. Turner based on his job description. Mr. Turner is not incorrect in that.
Okay.
There are
at least 4 dozen.
There are complaints that had been issued, and according to the job description, there are X number of days in order to send a letter to share action, and so no, he is behind, and so you are not incorrect, Mr.
Turner. By my count, he's 4 dozen behind.
Okay, so what we should probably do is well, I don't know, I'm telling you because you won't be here, but,
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, so again, we have an evaluation process that we started. I will not share these with you, but before I go, I have evaluations of all of our employees that will be submitted. It is a process, and, you worked in a system where,
I know.
so there is a process.
I'm very, very well aware of it, and you gave me a copy of actually, Mrs. Thorpe gave me a copy of that, and I spent some time looking at it. And the only problem I have with it is that a score of less than 50 will give you a favorable review. And the reason for that is not everybody is involved in all 15 steps.
Understood.
And instead of having does an unsatisfactory job, count for 1 if you move the numbers over and have that be 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you just took a percentage, like in school.
So, my favorite saying is, how do you eat an elephant?
What?
My favorite saying is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Well,
We have a tool. We are starting to use it. There was no tool. There was no effort. We now have a tool that we agreed upon, and I think
That's
that
correct.
everyone in
And
this room.
what I'm giving you is 2 cents worth, because I've used these tools many, many times in my
As
career.
have I, Mr. Turner, and I think that we all have opinions about what could be better or worse, and I respect your opinion, but I think that to go back and say that this isn't a good enough tool is a moot point at this point. We are using it, we are evaluating
fine.
our department heads, and I
That's fine.
believe that a process will take place as a result of it.
Then why is a score of less than 50%
That's
passing?
something that we could look at moving forward.
And all you really have to do is just look at percentages. I mean, not everybody fits into all 13 of
You
those.
are absolutely correct.
And it starts with 1, which means you get a point for doing absolutely nothing. If you started with 0 and just went 0 to 4 instead of 1 to 5, you'd, even without changing the percentages, you'd get a more accurate description of what you were doing. And I know I commend you for the effort in making this. And I've never come out 100% with anything I've ever done. And to have it come out right the first time is difficult. And this is a suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
please get back to me and let me know if you are going to change anything. That would be possible?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
So we have 5 minutes before our next hearing, so I'd like to, might as well get an approval for, is there a motion to approve the open session meeting minutes of October 29th, 2013?
It's your last meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to accept the executive session minutes of October 29th, 2013?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I think I'll quickly go through our meetings, invitations, and reminders. The Cable Advisory Committee meeting is Wednesday, April 2nd at 10 a.m., which is tomorrow, at the LCAT Studio at 180 Maple Street. There's an invitation for a grand opening preview party and ribbon cutting ceremony at Maureen's Sweet Shop, 6 Center Square. The preview party is Wednesday, April 2nd, which is tomorrow, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., and the ribbon cutting ceremony Friday, April 4th at 1 p.m. Refreshments approved by the health agent. Mercy Medical Center blood drive, Thursday, April 10th, 2014, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the East Long Meadow Fire Department, 150 Summers Road. The annual town elections are Tuesday, April 8th, 2014, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., Birchland Park Middle School. We have next for consideration the Board of Selectmen organizational meeting Wednesday, April 9th, 2014, the time and place to be determined, but I thought we had...
said the
Yeah,
15th.
we
did.
said we weren't going to have that, Nick. We were just going to wait till the 15th.
I had it as an item to carry.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, too.
Yeah.
Cultural Council meeting, Monday, April 14th, 2014, 3 p.m. in the small conference room at the East Long Meadow Library. There's Board of Selectmen's meeting Tuesday, April 15th, 2014, at 6 p.m. in the Town Hall hearing room. Town offices are closed Friday, April 18th, 2014, in observance of Good Friday. Town offices are closed Monday, April 21st, in observance of Patriots' Day.
Wow.
Appropriations Committee Public Budget Meeting is Thursday, April 24th, 2014, at 7 p.m. at the high school auditorium. There's a prescription drug take-back day on Saturday, April 26th, 2014, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the East Long Meadow Police Department. There's a Board of Selectmen's meeting Tuesday, April 29th, 2014, at 6 p.m. at the Town Hall hearing room, and I may request a favor on that one, but that'll be at the next meeting. And the moderator's warrant preview program, as he just came in, it's perfect timing. The recording of that is Monday, May 5th, 2014, at the LCAT studio, a time to be determined. All right. I guess we're close. Hopefully we have everyone here that's involved. Our 6:15, we have a public hearing for the application for alteration of premises for the beer shop, 33 Harkness Avenue, from 1,000 square feet to 2,200 square feet. Richard Cottle, manager, and I would like the, actually, Richard. Come on up.
How are you?
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi, Richard. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you guys.
I don't know, does your landlord, do you want to be up here, or do you want to? It's up to you. I mean, because obviously you'll know the premises, and you know, hi, Carl.
Nice to see you.
Nice to you.
All right, to begin, I'd like the clerk to read the hearing notice into record.
Dated March 20th, 2014, notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws that the Beer Shop LTD, 33 Harkness Ave, East Long Meadow, Mass. Richard D. Codhill, manager, has applied for an alteration of premise from 1,000 square feet to 2,200 square feet. The Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on this application on Tuesday, April 1st, 2014, at 6:15 p.m. in the Town Hall hearing room at the East Long Meadow Town Hall, East Long Meadow, Mass. Respectfully, Paul Federici, Angela Thorpe, Deborah Boronsky.
Thank you. The way we'll do this is we will have, we'll get an overview of what's happening from the manager and any other points that he would like to give, and then we'll open it up for any comments from any abutters or anyone who has an interest in speaking on behalf or against this project. Richard?
Thank you. We're just looking to expand our shop from 1,000 square feet to 2,200 square feet. The town's received us well. Everything's been going good. There's a lot of local craft breweries. We pretty much pressed forward with everything we planned to do when we came in here initially. We've done tastings. We've invited the town in. A few people had questions about hours. We've cut our hours to suit the center. And we just kind of are growing faster than our space allows. And we just want to provide a certain vibe and atmosphere. And we feel expanding an extra 1,200 square feet will give us that opportunity.
Okay. I know we have a plan here. Obviously, you had the space available. That's my brilliant question for the evening. I don't know if there's anything, as a landlord, I know we haven't had any complaints, obviously, since you've been a good, good business for the town, and we haven't had any complaints, and I don't know if you want to add anything as far as...
I just want to say, as a tenant, he's done a tremendous job in bringing a new concept to the town that shares single beers instead of having to buy a big bundle of beer. I think he has over 1,000 beers in his location, and he's really, really tight on space. In order to maybe to pay the bills, he needs more volume in order to be able to.
Right.
So we've worked with him now he's renovating the space that was in very bad condition, that now is going to be in good condition and clean and neat, and just an asset to our center. We really need him to bring more traffic to the center with the blend that we have, pizza, beer, and so forth. So people come.
Good.
It's nice.
Okay, great. Are there any questions from the board before I open it up to...
Can I just refrain until I hear some of the questions that other people may have?
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything?
How long ago was it that you came to us to open? How long has it been?
It feels like yesterday, but I think it's just under 2 years or right around the
Yeah.
2-year mark.
Really
So,
goes
I
by.
mean,
Very good,
Goes
and
by
you're right,
quick.
we've not heard
Yes, it does.
anything other than good
Right.
things, so
that's good to
That's-
hear. I mean, the town's been awesome.
we are.
Yeah, you know, when we opened, there was less than 1,700 breweries in the U.S., and now we're approaching 4,000. There's been at least a dozen here in Western Mass, let alone New England as a whole, and we just want to bring it to the people, you know. So we're excited.
Well, it's nice to have a nice business and
It's
and
a
a
nice
nice,
niche. It's a really nice niche.
very good. So, I don't have any questions.
Okay. I'll open it up to, I don't want to say the audience, that's just, but anyways, to the fine
public.
folks here, the public. And if you have a comment to make, could you please raise your hand and then state your name and address? And
You need to come up to the mic.
Randy
too.
White, 49 Harkness. I'll start by saying that the beer shop and Mr. Caudill have been a very welcome and appreciated business to the neighborhood. Exemplary neighbor, very friendly, love his products too.
have you tried all 1,000? I'm just.
I have not. Under his original application, I had 4 concerns. Today, I just kind of want to reiterate 3 of those 4 concerns. Single-serve alcohol such as nips, half pints, pints, lottery agent, and mass redemption. Not Massachusetts, but volume of
Right,
redemption.
right.
His hours, he's taken care of that, and again, that is what makes that business a better fit in that center. But it's just those 3 things. I just want to ensure that this expansion does not lead to other things such as, spent lottery tickets and nip bottles on my lawn, things of that nature.
You know, that's a good point, and just to address that, I had asked him, how come you don't have lottery? And he said to me that it would change his clientele. His clientele is not about,
Right.
that. It's about coming in, taking the beer home with the strict rules today, and rightfully so, drinking and driving. People are taking the beer home and they're having the parties at home.
Right. Well, it's about celebration, and our clientele, our crowd, are the people that drink during, times of celebration. So there's no 9 o'clock knocking at the door, no nips. We don't sell hard alcohol.
Okay.
Just beer and wine. No anticipation for lottery tickets. No cigarettes. It's just, it changes the atmosphere of the store and the vibe. And there's a lot of places, like you mentioned last time around, that do the lottery tickets and things of that nature. But as far as bottle returns, Mass law requires for us to take back what we sell. No more than 100 and 120 at a time. So there's not going to be a huge storage of returns, and the returns we've been getting go back to the distributors within a week.
Okay.
So no fruit flies, things of that nature.
Right.
So it's a clean environment, and it works out right. There's not a huge influx of returns, but we do a fair amount to help recycle and follow the guides of the Mass law. But yeah, no nips, no hard alcohol. We're just beer and wine.
Okay. So essentially the same as business today, just bigger.
Yeah.
And I-
More
and I-
choices for you.
Exactly.
And I think I know your concern, because if you can envision, if you know where it is, like although it's a huge operation, Table and Vine has that whole left side of the building that strictly returns.
Right.
And it's like a factory, and I know that's not what you want
Yeah.
next to your house. So I can understand that concern. And I know when you first came in, I think that's when you learned, I believe, that you had to accept.
Right,
You had to
exactly.
accept returns under Mass law, so.
Right.
But I think, obviously, once again, you've done it in a way that's, that's not obtrusive, and it's not bothering the neighborhood, and it's not, you don't have lines of people on a Saturday morning, turning in their empties, so.
Exactly.
And if it does become a problem, I will work with the town and Rich to remedy any redemption problems that would become, an issue.
Okay. But as long as there's no change in that process, I think. Mr. White would be happy.
Perfectly fine, like I say, exemplary neighbor.
Yep. Like to hear that.
Yep. Well, congratulations on your success, and I'm glad you expanded.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
I'd like to compliment you on being a vision in business.
Thank you.
Okay, because for someone to open up a small business and double it in less than 2 years is acceptable. The only question I have is, do you have enough parking?
Well, I believe we have 180 total.
We have 100 spaces on premise, and we have pictures now that we have, at most times, 50 available spots that are available.
Those ones were handed
At all times, yeah. Well, you know, it's really not that far.
I know
You
that.
know, if you park it big wide.
That's true, yeah.
It's really, it's just
I know.
proportionately.
Just teasing you.
Yeah,
Thanks, I appreciate it.
But that's, yeah.
yeah.
It's, the parking area is bigger than it looks from the street, obviously, because all you look at is
the
the,
back.
you get golf carts and shuttle them up from the
I
parking
sent him a letter saying I think it would be a good idea that all employees park in the front so our customers can park in the back.
There you go. Alright. That is true. That's a very good point, that, to have a business that has to expand because of success is just wonderful, especially in this economy and, in this current climate. So our hats are off to you. Any questions from the board?
So the expansion, congratulations, first and foremost, and we love having you here. But the expansion, is that going to be mostly for storage of product, or is it going to be for retail space? Because that's more than doubling, and I just wanted just a question, what you're going to do with
A
it.
little bit of both. We're looking for more room to, for when you get about 5 people in the shop, it feels crowded. And
Okay.
just to give them room to shop around without having to bump shoulders.
Okay.
So, a little bit more storage and a little bit more of cold storage. So,
Okay.
beer for people to that have cold in the summer months.
Okay.
Right now, we only have 5 doors of refrigeration. We have a 3-door and a
Okay.
2-door cooler. We look to have twice that this
Oh,
time
okay.
around.
All right, they did pull out a room.
Right,
refrigerators, yeah.
right. And we're looking to expand and hire 2 or 3 local people,
Wonderful,
Great.
wonderful.
Great.
So when do you expect to have all of this done?
Uh,
Just ask it,
As soon as
just
we-
check it.
As soon as we
Just
vote
check
yes.
Motion to approve.
Carl's gonna hammer in his car. Not that he's looking for the extra rent, but that's.
With the town and the selectmen's approval, it's just waiting on the green light from Boston, and then, like last time, 2 to 3 weeks after they give us the green light, we would take for build out.
I love that you did it in the right procession. Wonderful.
Great. Any other questions from the board? Any other questions from anyone in the audience? Great. In that case, I'd like to make a motion. What's that?
Nothing.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the alterations of the premises for the beer shop at 33 Harkness Avenue.
Closing the hearing first?
I think I do that at the end.
Okay, good.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Absolutely.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations. And the hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
You have to get all 4,000 breweries. You have to get beer.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys' time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your last.
Well, we're on time. Our next appointment is our IT Director, Ryan Quimby. Sir? Hello? How are you, Doctor?
Hello.
I'd like it noted that I did return my iPad.
You did. That makes one of us. Oh, you have to really return it. I see what you mean. Yes. You were
I gotta
here.
get mine updated.
Yeah, I love the new system. I couldn't print a blessed thing out of my office. Oh, no. Anyways, but I digress. You are here regarding, well, why don't you explain to us? You're looking for a reserve fund transfer.
Sure. So the server room is powered by electricity, which comes from the street. It goes from the street to a transfer switch. The transfer switch is what the power goes out, the generator kicks on, and that's what switches the power between either the street or the generator. From the transfer switch, it goes to the UPS. It's basically a giant battery, and then from there it goes to the panels that feed everything in the server room. So what's been happening for every power outage, power blip, power surge, brownout, anything, the UPS just shuts off output, the whole server room goes down, public safety goes down, phones go down, everything goes down. So where that causes an even larger problem is a lot of these systems, when they go down uncleanly like that, like our voicemail system or our virtual environment, it creates a lot of problems. The first time it happened, it took us 2 weeks to realize the problems and fix them. You know, it's happened quite a few times where we've actually gotten pretty good at it now. You know, but this just happened at our most recent power outage, where the east side of town lost power. You know, town hall still had power, but that system still shut off. You know, I lost power at my house, and I'm like, oh great. Not 2 minutes later, the police department was calling. They couldn't get into their software. So that's what leads us here to look for this replacement.
Okay. How old is the current UPS? Just out of curiosity.
13 years.
Okay, so it's lived its life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we have those smaller ones in our office, and I understand when
Yeah,
they start beeping incessantly in our office, it's time to get rid of them. So.
It also conditions the power, so it's does a little more than the
Right.
typical desk one does.
And I'm sure you've done all the research, and there are certain requirements of this device to manage all of the power and that it must manage, and you've gone out and gotten the best possible price and all of those things that you would do, because you do those kinds of things, right?
That's right.
Okay.
We outgrew the system the UPS that we have already, and we had to add a secondary one for one particular rack, basically because of the $20,000 cost. Like, if we can get around it and not have to spend the money for the upgrade, and we can do it. Then this unit started failing. It's under a maintenance contract, so we had the tech come out. He's been out about 6 times. There was one issue. I had hoped that would resolve it. We've had 2 failures since that, and now it's just they just keep telling me it's old. You got to replace it.
Yeah, well, by the time you add up your man hours for fixing the problem, the $20,000 doesn't seem quite relevant if you think about all the
Right.
time you're spending and the time that people are down and not doing their job.
Yeah.
How long does it actually last that they're down?
It depends on where I'm at, where my network administrator is, because we actually have to come back, turn everything back on, make sure the critical systems can come online, and if not, then we have to fix those.
So give me an estimate, a guesstimate.
This most recent time, it was probably a half hour to 45 minutes,
Okay.
because I was at home eating dinner and the power went out.
And then obviously, as you said, the power goes out, the police can't access their software, which means if they have a stop or they have anything going on in a time period, then they're at a loss to be able to do any identification of who they're actually dealing with.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's only if it happens off hours. If it happens during the day, internet for town, school-wide is
right.
out, phones, town hall, senior center, 2 elementary schools, phones are out.
Okay. Yes. Oh, sure.
So this fix for $20,000 is good for just 10 years? How long?
I would say at least 10 years. We got 13 out of the one that we have now. I think our power demands have kind of plateaued.
Okay.
It does allow for expansion. Right now, we're replacing it with one that has the same exact capacity, because it will require a wiring upgrade from the electrical room to our office.
Okay.
But building facilities is aware of it, and they're going to incorporate it when they have in their capital request for the electrical upgrade.
So you're saying that the average lifespan of these, this is not my forte, and that's fine. So the average lifespan for this USP?
UPS.
UPS, okay. UPS, okay, is 10 years?
I'd say at least 10, yeah.
Okay. That's too bad. I'd like to see one for 20, at least, okay.
Well, it may if if your requirements have plateaued, like you were saying, and the other one lasted 13 years, you might get more years out of it.
Yeah, the other one, it's been running at like 80-85% for about 5 years, so.
Okay.
So we need to plan for that in the next time go around, like for 10 years, put it in your 10-year plan. It might last for 20, but still be planning for it, so it's not an emergency. transfer this way.
Right.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
it's for the cost and for what it does, it wasn't giving us any issues, so there was really no need to replace it. So kind of include it in a capital replacement plan to replace it if it's still working perfectly. You know, I was hoping that the last fix that we had applied to it would resolve it, but unfortunately it didn't.
Okay. Any further questions?
No, sir.
Then I'd like to make a motion to approve the reserve fund transfer for the server battery backup.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Listen, don't you come back here again.
I sound like-
Don't you come back here again.
All right, our next appointment is actually at 6:40, but Colin's here, so I don't know if you want to come up a few minutes early. It's rare that we're early, so.
I'm loving it.
All right, Colin. Well, after this, you'll be trying to get money from her from the state, so.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
Just like we will.
Exactly.
Write some grants and
Exactly.
stuff, yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm trying to make appointments already.
All right, you are here for a number of items. The first being, I don't know if you want to discuss it, the retirement of one of your employees, longtime employees.
Longtime employee, yeah, Carol Shank, our administrative assistant, has decided to go on to the next chapter of her life and retire and enjoy that. She gave us 31 years for the town, you know, and specifically for the recreation department. So one of the things I like to tell her is that she signed me up for baseball when I was 5.
That's
So,
fabulous.
and she loves it, and she remembers me from back then, a little blonde-haired little guy, but yeah. So it's she's really happy. She's excited for what's
for
to
her.
come,
Good for
but
her.
that does give us a little bit of work to move on to the next stage for the recreation department, which is filling that administrative assistant position. And she'll actually be leaving us on May 9th, being her last day at 4 o'clock. So.
Okay. Before you go any further, I guess we should probably accept the resignation, I would think. I'd like to make a motion to reluctantly accept the resignation of Carol Shanka and obviously thank her for her 31 years of work for the town, and if we could also send a
Yes.
letter in that regard to her, prepare a letter of thanks to her. But reluctantly accept her resignation from the rec department.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I see I'm going to have to look to my left for all the
That's the
motions
one.
to be approved tonight.
For
Okay.
today.
Okay, just for today. All right, so getting on with the hiring process.
Yes. That is, something that I would obviously like to begin, because on May 12th, we will come to the office and not have a person to assist us in moving on to our summer programs and all of that. So, so I'm here to ask essentially the selectmen if we can begin the process and what that process will be.
Go ahead.
Certainly, we would want to advertise it, beginning immediately, and possibly have the deadline for April 21st. And then interviews on that Thursday and Friday, the 24th and the 25th. And then possibly have her start, and this is what I wanted to discuss with the board, have her start on May 1st, her or him, start on May 1st for 5 days with Carol, so that there will be a smooth transition.
Much appreciated. Yeah, that'd be
And
perfect.
because it really needs to be a smooth transition. So that's just what I was thinking
Yeah.
of. So I don't know if the board approves with
No,
that
it's good.
timeline.
Yeah.
I think that's great, because with 31 years of how recreation in this
Exactly.
town runs,
And-
I mean,
and
we'll
how
try to
she
stuff
has
it
it
into
done,
5
yeah.
days, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, that's much appreciated.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
sure
that
she'd be willing to.
Yeah, absolutely.
to
But
mentor,
I
yeah,
think
because
it's
she
a
would
great
still,
suggestion.
and I wouldn't want to wait until her very last day, because usually that's a day of celebration. I'm not
Some
naive,
cake
totally
and stuff like
naive about
that.
that, so. And certainly.
Or
we-
phoning it in.
So do you
Yeah.
have the job description ready to?
Yep. I sent that over to Nick as well, but I did bring copies
That's
for
great.
everyone here. Small updates to it. The previous director redid it in 2012, but now we use different programs. So that one stated, rec track, which now we use rec desk. So I made some editing for those purposes, as well as just some general English editing to make
Okay.
it sound a little bit smoother.
Since there have been revisions, can we have, I know Deb won't be able to vote on it, but I want to just have a minute to look at it, compare it for language changes. We have a little time. Oh, no, we don't. Well,
When would we start advertising?
you don't
We
have,
don't actually put the whole job
Right, you
description
don't
in
put
the
it
ad,
on there
so you
anyway,
have time
right.
You have time to work with
Yeah.
that.
Job
Right.
description available at the recreation department.
yeah,
or-
so, okay, so we'll, so go ahead and do your advertising, we'll look over this.
Yeah,
and-
that's absolutely fine. And a question I had about the advertising, obviously we should, the process should include a 2-week internal and a 2-week external, or try to do them simultaneously because it is a union position.
I defer to
Can we
Paul.
do them
and Nick.
simultaneously?
Can we do them? Obviously, internally would have first right, I would think, under the union.
Right, I would defer to council, but my understanding is that you could do a simultaneous. However, if you received internal candidates, you would need to give them full consideration first.
Okay.
Go through the interview process with the internal candidates. If you receive no candidates, then I believe you could then pivot and look at the external. So I believe you could do it simultaneously, but if you had internal candidates, you'd need to go through the process with them first.
Okay.
Can
Will you
we-
confirm that with council too?
Yeah, I was like, if that's the case, can we note that in the advertisement, saying, the one that goes out to external candidates, and just put in there that it's also being posted within the town, and any internal candidates will get first right to be interviewed.
Mr. Chairman, I would say to the board and to the recreation director to do that would be maybe one way to do that would be to keep the ad short, which is what we try to do, and then direct applicants to the town website where a full description, including
There you
any special conditions like that, could
Okay.
be more fully explained.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
we don't
great.
have to pay for the words.
That's right. All right. Very good.
Should I be contacting the union to get approval for simultaneous, or is it, generally speaking, I can just go ahead and do that? I'll obviously be calling Nick to
Yeah.
work
And
on.
I can ask our town council also, but I don't see why we'd have to discuss it with the union.
Yeah, as long as they're getting priority for
Okay.
any internal candidates.
Right, whereas this would be different than with the IT department's most recent posting, which the union gave consent for
Right.
an external search.
Right. Okay,
Right.
great.
Okay.
Next, we got, I think you submitted your latest budget.
Mhm.
So is there anything, Selectman Thorpe, I don't know, did you work with him on that, or did you see?
Yeah, he was to submit a budget with a 1%,
Mhm.
and I believe he has done that.
Okay, great, very good. And,
A 1% increase.
yes,
Yep.
Good.
and
Thank you.
last, I believe the next item would be executive?
It would be, and it's put here simply because the recreation director's here for the appointment now. I don't know if this is a situation where the board would invite the director into the executive session, have a discussion as a board with him for negotiations, or if the board's pleasure is to have a discussion as the board. Usually it would be under town council, that's what I'm...
Right, yeah, and he's not here yet, so. We can do one of two things. If you want to hang out, you can do that, or we can just discuss amongst ourselves, and then get back to you. It's up to you how you want to handle it.
I can wait and work on a few things.
Okay. All right, great.
And, when council gets here, go into executive session.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, we will go to old business. The fiscal year 15 budget. We got an email from the Appropriations Committee Chairman, which I don't know if everyone got a chance to review, but it highlighted a bunch of different points regarding different items on the budget and how they're going to be handled. I don't know if anyone has any questions in regard to that. Mr. Moderator, do you have anything to say about that, or?
No.
Okay, I was just wondering, as you were standing up.
Receiving.
Okay. I think I realized that the appropriations has more or less, they've gotten to where I believe they're fairly comfortable with their budget and with the budget and then with the 1% increases, and there's been some changes here and there and in that regard, so I don't know if there's anything else we have to add about that, Nick?
Well, this is really a question in general for the board.
Yeah.
With respect to its departments, like Mr. Drury was here with regards to his particular budget, and I know that board members had opted to meet with departments that they had questions about. The Appropriations Committee is coming down to the point where they're going to be making recommendations, and I believe that they're going to finalize those on the 10th of April. There are questions that I would pose to the board to see if you have any questions about particular departments. For example, with the clerk's office, and in speaking about that, I spoke with the clerk about his budget today. We've spoken in the past as well, and he was willing and able to come here and answer any questions that the board might have about his budget in particular. So that was one that I thought the board might want to.
Okay.
I believe you have hard copies
Yep.
along with a description for one of the positions in the office.
Yeah. I don't know.
You
want to come up, Tom?
Which the discussion, if the board gets into an in-depth discussion about the proposal, that too may fall under an executive session with regards to strategy with respect to collective bargaining.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so in other words, you've got your budget here, and you had a couple changes to two of your primary budgets of the many budgets that you have over there. So if, I don't know if you want to go over these briefly.
Sure. The two main budgets I have are the elections and then the clerk's office. And in this budget narrative explained that just looking for understand what obviously the 1% guideline, but there's only going to be 3 changes in the salaries. That's contractual, and then also I had put in with the backup document a promotion for the assistant treasurer. I put that in back in January.
Yep.
And to offset that, to get to the 1%, I have explanations on possibilities what we can do. It's all got to, again, my office is fixed. I mean, the elections is no problem. We're giving back, up to 20% because we have fewer elections. So, but it's the clerk's office where, my expenses have stayed flat for 11 years. Those haven't changed. We've controlled it through technology and, efficiencies. So what was 50,000 in 2003 is still, actually a little less in 2015. And the only changes in a fixed office like mine and others, the town hall, is in salaries. And the contractual increases for the union employees. I have one contractual increase left in the agreement that I had, and then the proposed promotion for the assistant treasurer. And those are going to be offset, to get down to the 1%. Again, the only way you can get it is through salaries. And, I proposed to cut back a tax title account. I proposed to, again, it was brought up to shut down close the town hall on Friday afternoons for a couple-month period in order to get down to the 1%, or else look at an employee right now and cut that employee's hours back by a couple hours per day. And that gets us down to the 1% also. And that, but by doing that, it would incorporate the three things: the contractual increases and the promotion for the assistant treasurer.
Yeah, I am not a proponent, I am not in favor of closing town hall.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I would agree.
You know what, and neither am I, but again, to get
Well-
down anything, that's the
Yeah.
only.
Well, through the chair,
Mm-hmm.
the promotion, that is a promotion. Has that been approved yet by the board?
No.
Submitted back
Yes.
in January.
Yes.
Was it?
No.
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Mhm.
the board had, it's my understanding that the board has reviewed it and accepted the concept of a 1% in some fashion, but with the clerk's use of, I think what's happening is the use of the word promotion is really up for discussion, meaning that is this promotion or regrade? And respectfully, I would say that this is really something that the board would consider under a regrade process, which is spelled out in the collective bargaining unit. And Mr. Florence has provided the board with information that he believes is pertinent to the changes in the job description that would warrant such an increase. Recall that there are certain things that the board requires under a request for a regrade. So respectfully, I would say that I don't know that the board has taken a vote on a regrade for this position. I don't believe that is the case.
So I guess my question, and Tom, thank you for all the hard work you do. I appreciate that. How can we put the regrade in automatically before it's been approved? Wouldn't it be approved first and then placed in? I guess the timing, it's our, and if, let me ask you this, if the regrade were not to take place, would you be within your 1% without having to close town hall?
Would be closer to the 1%. Because right now, approximately $9,400 over that, and that would get us half back. The regrade is approximately $4,200.
$4,200.
Right. So it wouldn't get us to the 1%, it would get us closer.
Closer to it.
But it's manageable, even throughout the year. That's something I could manage through the other line codes.
Okay.
Right. And thanks for clarification. I appreciate it. It's more of a regrade than a promotion.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that, if I could, I would say to the clerk that, I mean, that is something that needs to just be clarified, because promotion and regrade can, it seems to have the same effect, but it is a distinction in the contract. I would also recommend to the board that you consider, if you're going to discuss the merits of the regrade proposal itself, rather than its effect on the budget and potential, doing this, doing that to meet the number, that the board consider that more of an executive session type of item, to have those discussions about the position within the union.
Well, through the chair, I would say that those discussions would be mandatory. That we
definitely.
should not do it without having those discussions.
Right, yeah, we'll obviously take this under advisement, and then we will discuss it in executive session to see, get our opinions on how to proceed.
Okay.
All right?
That's fair.
Mr. Chairman, would I, on behalf of the clerk, would that discussion be happening this evening?
It could. Yeah, I don't see why not. Let me ask.
Well, I think we can start a conversation.
We can start a
and see where it
conversation,
goes.
right.
Now, the only
Thank you.
caveat being, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the only caveat being, starting a conversation and then changing a board member would sort of like reinvent the wheel in a
That's
couple
true.
weeks, so.
That's true.
I don't know if we should hold off till the 15th and maybe start fresh. What do you think?
Okay, here's what my concern is. If appropriations is looking to seal the deal or finish things on the 10th, I think it would at least be our advantage to start the conversation. Of course, it's going to be a little bit interrupted, but I'm sure whoever is elected on next Tuesday would be able to pick up the slack and
But-
get right into it.
But
instead.
in either case, we still wouldn't have a resolution by the 10th.
Right.
So,
Well, you know what, I defer to
yeah.
my other
Well, no, I mean, we can
members
discuss it
if
tonight. That's not a problem, and we'll go from there. See
Well, I
what-
just hate Tom
see
to
what-
have to come back twice. Well, you still may have to come back twice. Sorry,
No, flexible,
nature of the beast.
whatever works out with you guys.
We gotta watch those ducats, I'm sorry. That's the charge.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. All right. Is there anything else that,
Did you want to talk about the registrar?
Oh,
Oh,
thank you.
we have it on
Thank you.
for, okay. And I might have to recuse myself, because I'm not sure, because town council isn't here for me to check into it. The Democratic Committee has elected me to be their president. And it's been brought to my attention this afternoon that, well, before then, we were going to have a discussion, but we didn't realize that the term for the Democratic registrar, voter registrar, his term has expired. There is an election coming up on April 8th, as we all know, and I would hate not to have a Democratic person there who knows the position to do it. I did speak with the vice president of the East Long Meadow Democratic Committee, and he is okay with assigning just for this one, for this election, for him to continue to expand or to give him the permission to act as the registrar on the election of April 8th. However, after that, we would take it back to the board and have a full, see whoever wanted, if there was any interest, because it's not for us to make that decision, and it wouldn't be fair. It may still be the same decision. However, it deserves a conversation, and I'm not comfortable making that decision for a 2-year term.
Okay.
So, but we are willing to make a recommendation of Jim O'Connor to continue as the Democratic voter registrar for the election of April 8th, 2014. And that is the recommendation to the board. And I believe I have to recuse myself from the vote because I am the one bringing the recommendation. I think that, I'm not sure, so it's better to be
safe than sorry?
safe than sorry.
All right.
Be careful.
I thought Jim was heading the opposite direction. I thought that's what he said. But anyways,
He's coming back from Florida.
is it, I don't mean literal direction. I thought.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve James O'Connor as the, I guess you call him temporary Democratic Registrar of Voters for the election for April 8th, 2014.
So moved.
I'll second on necessity. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Okay, very good.
You just know how that process works, is
Yeah.
that, well, you know how the...
And I know
the town
your name
is.
has to be O'Connor in order to be involved in the voting, right?
Very good. The
Actually, it has
Irish-
to be Tom or Jim, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Tom.
You all set?
Yes.
Is he approved?
Yes, he is.
Fantastic.
All right. Our next item,
Thank you.
oh, you're welcome, is the, our budget priorities, which, when do we need these by? Please don't say tonight.
Last week.
That's even worse. You're just getting it in right before you leave. I understand. Okay.
Because I know it wouldn't be, I know you've got them, I believe you've got them listed, so it's not, I just had them. But it wouldn't be, and we don't even know, I hate this expression, if there's any extra money, is that a good choice of words? To, fulfill any of these requests, so. And I don't know when we'll know that. I don't know if you have any idea, or if you have any idea. Is that final budget process?
This was part of that email from the chairman.
Yep.
he said that they, have about 8,000 in reserve right now, but they don't know what the
Final
changes
figure
would
will
be.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if we've got a whole list of, a whole wish list, for lack of a better word, and there's only $8,000 as of present time.
Right.
I know one of the things that I think we were all in agreement on was the
Call system.
the recall system. The
Right, and that's
so-
$11,000.
Right, so
So,
at the very
yeah.
least, until, I would think until unless we want to put our priority list together and get it back here for, the next meeting, until we get an idea of what the funds are going to be, then at least we can do it and then have it ready, and if they come up with more funds, then we'll have our priority list. But like I said, speaking for myself, I know the reverse, what is it officially called? I keep calling it the reverse 911.
Reinstate Blackboard Connect.
Blackboard Connect, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we received letters from our police and fire
Right.
chiefs on that as well. so-
Yeah, we do.
So that would be, I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that.
I concur with what
Okay.
you're saying. I think we spoke about this
Yep.
time and time again. The Blackboard Connect, especially if there's some sort of weather issue or
Yeah,
any kind of emergency,
Right.
that's a nice direct, as they say, direct connect, Blackboard Connect.
and that actually connects to cell phones, because I know somehow it's got my cell phone number, so which is great in the case of if there's an emergency like last Friday night that was more widespread, where we lost power in our end of the town.
Mhm.
If there was anything that we had to know, at least somebody I could get the message on my cell phone, even though the
Exactly.
house phones were useless. So, all right.
Don't say useless.
Well, it was
It's
okay. It was,
antiquated.
no, it wasn't antiquated. It was a paperweight when the power was off.
Okay.
So, anyway.
Yep.
So as far as, let's see, so we will get our list together and get them back. The next item is budget meetings with departments. Nick, is that something that,
I've put this out here again, really either as an update from any board member that met with department heads and had questions or comments they wanted to bring to the board, or again, just putting it out there for the board if you wanted to hold another meeting with certain department heads.
Okay.
Thanks. Next item is regarding health insurance, plan design changes and elected official coverage. And I understand that one of the items that came about was when Scantic Valley gave us their new rates as of the end of February. They gave us the new rates, and the rates hadn't changed, and there was a 6% increase put in the budget to cover any potential changes. So with that 6% increase, which worked out to, I believe, roughly about $250,000, that ended up being a savings. However, I believe at the time there were 27 new families that came onto the town insurance because of various and sundry reasons, which took care of about $150,000 of that, leaving an overage, if you will, of $100,000, which basically covered what appropriations was looking for in their request from us with the health insurance. I believe I've got that right. So therefore, I think they've been satisfied as far as that, and I think that makes us happier, because as we said before, we didn't want to jump into any decisions regarding all the town employees in a short period of time without getting figures on all different kinds of options, and this gives us an opportunity to do that without any added or any unnecessary pressure, if you will. Bless you.
Excuse me, thank you for the blessing.
So I guess that basically takes care of that.
Yes, it
Now,
does.
annual town meeting, our warrant articles, we have,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Item B, is there any action at this
well,
point?
I believe it's the same idea, so we'll take a look at that also.
So this was, if I could, Mr. Chairman, then this is the end of this topic for this budget
I
cycle?
believe it is, unless told otherwise. All right, next item is annual town meeting, the warrant articles. We have to vote to close the warrant, I believe, right? But
Again, that's at the discretion of the board. It would be preferable if the board is willing and able to do so. I have provided the board with an updated draft warrant with warrant articles that I met with the town accountant today. That there are a couple in there that I think the board is really aware of, but there may be one or two that the board is not. I was hoping to go through them
Sure.
with the board.
Sure.
That would be helpful.
Maybe just to explain a little bit,
Mhm.
if I could. Article 1 is to hear the reports of the boards. That's a standard article that's on the warrant every year. So I would suggest that stay in there. That's part of the town bylaws anyway. Article 2 is the budget article. Don't know the figures just yet. Article 3, that's the capital planning committee article. That committee is working on the numbers. Article 4, stabilization. This is to transfer a sum of money into the stabilization fund, and appropriations is working with $50,000. That's the amount that they're working with right now. And that is likely to stay in the warrant at this point.
Excuse me.
Article 5 is new for the board to see it in the warrant. I believe there has been discussion about it. There's something called other post-employment benefits, and this article would propose to transfer 50,000 or raise, appropriate, or transfer 50,000 to the pension reserve fund. There is a pension reserve fund, and for those who are, just briefly, brief overview for those who are watching, is that there is a liability for towns that they have to cover for their pension liability, and there is a push for towns to start establishing funds and build those funds to meet those liabilities. And I don't know, I couldn't quote to the board where we are, what our liabilities are at this point, but I can tell you that the numbers that we're putting in are just starting to address that, so that the, and it's across the Commonwealth. This is an issue for all communities, but to establish the fund and to try and consistently put money in there is what is being done here.
Okay, and the push is from, through the chair? The push is from whom? Who?
State law.
State law,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see, Article 6 as it's written here, department transfers. This funding here is proposing at this point $500,000. It's my understanding that this would include upwards of $370,000 to offset the snow and ice deficit, and possibly $100,000 within the current fiscal year deficit for the health insurance. Now, what the board just discussed is not directly, as I understand it, tied to what is for FY15. And I also will say that the town accountant had planned to be here and has a personal emergency this evening, so was not able to be here to meet with the board, so I'm sort of covering a little bit for him. Some of the mechanics on that, I wish I had a little bit more information for the board, but I don't at this point.
Okay.
Can you get that for us, Nick? Because I think that's an important point right
Sure
there.
thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Article 7, prior year's bills. Last year was a $5,000. This is sort of a cover for any outstanding bills that might be there for FY13. Article 8, Chapter 90. This is for the road work, highway funds. This is an annual article. That number there, 587,018, is last year's number. I would expect that it would hopefully go up somewhat.
Yeah.
Article 9. Article 9 would be it's listed as Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund, and this is to establish the fund. Later today, I did have a conversation with the accountant and the chairman of appropriations, and this actually will be 2 articles. There'll be one to establish a water and sewer, and one to establish a water fund, and one to establish a sewer enterprise fund. These articles will not have a dollar value associated with them. That action will be done as through a transfer, is my understanding, with the budget article. That would be in Article 2. And I believe that will be specified in the motion as to how that action will occur.
Okay.
Let's see. Proposed Article 10 here. Transfer Station Enterprise Fund. This article is one I don't really know if this is going to appear on this annual town meeting warrant. It may appear for a special, but if it does, it would be a placeholder right now is to establish that enterprise fund for the transfer station. Let's see, Article 11, LCAT revolving fund, proposing to keep the same amount as last year, 132. Cultural Council article, revolving fund, for the, Center School Park revolving fund. Apparently there is discussion to perhaps eliminate this article, but if my best estimate at this point is that it will stay, but it will be looked to be eliminated. I'm not really certain. Again, this was a conversation with the accountant about that. I will have to get back with the board.
Okay.
But the amount, even if it stays, is not expected to go above $5,000. Solid waste revolving, annual article, to establish that, $50,000, looks to be the same as last year. Article 14 here, and I would just like to say again, the numbers that I'm quoting here for those watching are placeholder numbers. They may change a little bit here and there because some articles may be eliminated and added, but Article 14 for this discussion purpose is the Council on Aging revolving. This is an annual article as well. Proposal, though, is to increase the cap from $100,000 to $120,000, and that's for reasons that the board has been apprised of, so that it doesn't run out of the ability.
I thought we didn't have to do that.
For the current fiscal year.
Current fiscal year, okay.
But this is to establish it for the next fiscal year.
Okay.
And the thought is, might as well bring the cap up.
Makes sense.
Just in case. Next is Library Revolving Fund, annual article, $15,000. That's what's being requested by the Board of Library Trustees, same as last year. 4th of July Parade is to ask for $17,500, I believe same as last year. Let's see. Excuse me. Proposed Article 17. This had to do with transportation funding. I spoke with the Council on Aging Director late today, and she is requesting that this article not be presented. Okay. She may come before the board at a future time, but not this meeting.
Just out of curiosity, do we have a dollar amount on there?
No, she did not have a dollar amount on that.
Okay. Through the chair, sorry.
It's okay.
And apparently that was going to be an effort as well with the town of Hamden, and they have decided not to pursue it, so for this go-round. Next, CPC Fund, annual article to establish the amounts and the percentages. They're all expected to be the same. This is the 5% for the administrative and then the 10% historic reserve, et cetera, to establish those accounts.
Okay.
The next, here, Article 19, municipal space purchase. And this is one that I know it's tied into a discussion on an item later here, but this is where it would be. I would expect, I don't know if Mr. Chairman, if the board wants to have this discussion now or get through the warrant, and then based on your discussion, whether or not the article will stay or what it will entail and so forth.
Well, I think, I know we had some town officials go through the building the other day, and I read their review, and there are some questions, and there's, we haven't been satisfied as far as getting, per our request, getting an elevator system that's ADA compatible. The one they suggested, I guess, isn't, from what I understand, and there were a couple other items. So actually, right now, we've got as many questions as answers, so I would suggest maybe leaving it in, but, you know,
Is the place.
whatever information we get in the near future, we'll decide how we proceed, because we can always take it off the floor at the meeting if we have to.
So as of right now, this will
Stays in.
This will stay in.
Yep.
I may ask the board at the meeting will ask the board at an upcoming meeting, either the 15th, maybe the 29th at the latest, to decide what that final figure will be to put in here. And then maybe later in again, with this topic, I would ask the board to consider whether or not it's going to make some kind of award or wait for the, the very next meeting. But we will be coming up against time constraints. The next is Article 20. This would be proposed town hall renovations. Board of Public Works has talked about this. And I do not have the exact language, but the concept is to conduct some kind of renovations in town hall. I'm assuming that this will stay in here as a placeholder, and
Yes.
likewise will be no action if that's the case at town meeting.
Correct.
Let's see, it's my understanding that Article 21, I've had a conversation, this is referencing the sale of the Arts Lindendale Gaskell Street. And we'll recall that we would have to go out to bid, but also that the board had asked that the individual who was interested in making a purchase, even though they would need to be a bidder, the board had requested an appraisal.
Right.
And while that, I had a conversation with that attorney for that client, and it hasn't been completely ruled out, but I don't anticipate having an answer on that until next week. The other thing is whether or not there would be enough time to conduct a bid process prior to publication. I don't think that there would be. So it would be my recommendation to the board at this time not to include it, although certainly look for the direction.
Okay.
If we put it in, can we call it off at the floor?
It'd be better to have a placeholder.
Right. Yeah, we can always, you can always not act on it, so. Well, as of now, why don't we leave it in, and then we'll go from there.
Let's see. The next one is relative to a personnel policy committee and to establish one. And I apologize if I'm bringing up something that was already decided on, but I don't know that I had that direction. That's why it's still here.
Okay.
I think we thought that going through the process with our own department heads and our new evaluation process, that giving that a chance to work and going through that process might give us more opportunity going forward in the future to discuss why it's important and move such an article forward.
Right.
So I would think that at this point, unless the two of you are looking to take that on, I would like to encourage you to continue with the evaluation process and see, how that works out.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
present that at a future meeting.
Yeah, I agree. So we would not.
So you would not present
Right,
this
we would
article?
not.
Through the
at
chair,
this
yeah,
time?
I would say that we wouldn't present it at this time, not saying that it would not be brought up in a couple of years or a year, depending how the evaluation process would go. But I definitely think there is definitely a need for a personnel policy committee. We're just not ready just yet.
Right. Okay, so we'll leave that off.
Be removed.
Off but not forgotten. May I, through the chair?
Sure.
Selectman Bronski, I just want to again thank you for all the hard work that you put into that article. It may not have been ready, but there was a lot of work that went behind that, and I don't know if everybody realizes that, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you.
Thank you.
For laying a foundation so I don't have to, or somebody doesn't have to start from scratch.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Article 23 as proposed here, I would ask that the board remove this at this time.
Okay.
It is an issue with the town bylaws, but it is not a big issue, and I don't feel that I've provided the board at this time with enough information as to why it's there.
Okay.
It's important.
Yeah, and I
but-
had a question on it too, so it's okay.
Yeah,
We
that's-
can discuss it a little bit.
I can see where that $300 figure regarding, how old is that figure?
It seems to be antiquated.
Yeah,
And
it's-
it, does potentially make the town absorb a cost of an advertisement.
Right.
And this came up really just through the sale of surplus fire equipment.
Mhm.
But again, I don't think that I've really had time to adequately discuss it with the board. So it's something that perhaps for a special town meeting, I think a bylaw change like this would be, could be appropriate for that, and it could wait, but.
Put it on the bucket list.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then similarly with Article 24, this has to do with the Board of Health adopting regulations regarding medical marijuana use. Similarly, these Board of Health regulations can be promulgated, as my understanding, by the Board of Health and more or less enacted by through a hearing process. But certainly, it's not prepared for the board to make any decisions on that at this point.
I agree, because aren't there going to be state regulations regarding medical marijuana use, or you know, I mean, or I would assume they're not counting on every community to enact their own laws. That's sort of like, you know.
In doing some limited research, I've seen there are some communities that have adopted regulations. They don't seem to be overly extensive. They do seem to cover a lot of, what you would think issues that would come up. But I really just don't have enough information to present to the board.
That's fine.
At this time.
That's fine.
So are you going to keep that as a placeholder for that article, or are we taking it off? Question to the chair.
Pardon me. My recommendation would be to take it off at this time, but to work on this as something perhaps to pass before the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay. My question is, if anything should happen between now and the end of the year, are we covered by anything? Because we have nothing in our bylaws right now.
Didn't you say through the Board of Health we could have a hearing?
The Board of Health, it's my understanding, could conduct a hearing process with regulations that it wants to promulgate.
Okay, got it.
In this warrant, there are zoning bylaw additions that are going to put some restrictions and limits on where and use and so forth. But this would be more. So there will be some checks in place, but the other piece of it would be regulations. We're just not there yet.
Okay.
And then the rest of the articles are for zoning and also for petitioned articles.
Okay. Let me let me ask the board, is everyone comfortable in closing the warrant tonight? Or do you want a little more time to review it?
Well, we don't have to have it done until, something, I was looking at,
So we could close it at the meeting of the 15th, or when's
how
the-
does that put Nick as far as his
Yeah.
dates go?
as far as publishing?
Mr. Chairman, what I think I would do is go ahead and, based on what the board has told me tonight, start working on a draft warrant that I would circulate amongst various departments and other stakeholders to make sure that everything from typos on to the intent is correct and get the numbering in place. And also to present something to the reminders so that they can start working on it. The more time, the better. I also really need to have a discussion with town council, get the language right and so forth. What closing it does is say that there's no more additions. So if the board wants to leave that option open, that's up to the board, but then on the 15th, that would be it. And that truly would be the last of it. And really the language would likely need to be pretty polished for the board to consider. I would ask if that's going to be the case, if the board's going to keep it open, I would suggest that the board keep it open only for any other type of financial type of articles that appropriations may think need to be added
Okay.
that aren't presented here.
Okay.
I don't know what they could be, but they are finishing up their budget discussions on the 10th. So that would be my recommendation.
If a resident were to bring something in, I would like to keep it open.
But the residents, March 1st was the deadline,
March
or
1st,
March
okay.
2nd was the
Sorry,
deadline
my
for
bad.
residents, so. yeah.
Okay, all right.
All right, so are you in agreement with that as far as holding off and only having financial warrant items added?
No.
Well, the selectmen would be the only other ones who could add it
Add
anyway.
it
Right,
one,
right.
right,
So
that's why I'm
if there's
thinking.
not something you have
Right.
in mind now, I would
And
imagine.
What's
I
that?
just was made aware of something a couple days ago, so I might.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, then we'll hold
sorry
off
about
till 15.
Also, are we still on that, through the
Mhm.
chair? With regards to the publishing date, I would, I thought that the 8th would be good. I don't know, because Nick had made that suggestion.
Mhm.
That would give the appropriations committee time to
Right.
fine tune their budget also.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with that.
That's fine, but we'll, okay,
Yeah.
vote on all that next week.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
All right, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work on this.
Yeah.
Nice job, Nick.
Next item, we have a resignation from the Council on Aging Board by Gary Delisle, effective immediately.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how long Gary's been on that board, unfortunately, but I don't know if you know Nick or...
I want to say 3 years at least.
Okay, all right. Make a motion to reluctantly accept the resignation of Mr. Delisle from the Council on Aging Board.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any
forgot
discussion?
where it was.
Other than the fact that we'd like to send him a note, a letter of thanks for serving the town.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have a potential applicant for the Cable Advisory Committee.
Mhm.
I don't know, does anyone have any comments or in regard to this? It's always nice to see people stepping up to the plate.
Absolutely. Did you receive the email that was sent
Yes.
out today?
Yes.
Okay. So, it's nice to see people step up to the
Mhm.
plate indeed. This gentleman stepped up at a recent debate, and he's been in town for, I want to say, 27 years, Gerald Saletti, and he's interested. He started the conversation with, yeah, what are we going to do about cable? I said, as a matter of fact. And so he said, yes, he would be very interested in serving. So I would certainly like to, and he was welcomed by Mr. Oakes, gave his blessing for having him on the commission. And so we're always welcome. It's always nice to see new people coming on and
Mhm.
getting involved, and he's recently retired, so he has time, so.
Okay, great. In that case, I'd like to make a motion to accept Gerald Saletti as a member of the Cable Advisory Committee.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And also, we have,
Congratulations.
yeah, we have an applicant for the Housing Partnership Committee, Jennifer Law. And we've all received her resume and her intent, so once again, it's a necessary committee, and we welcome new members. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Jennifer Law as a member of the Housing Partnership Committee.
So,
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion?
seconding.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any other openings on that committee? Or was
The
it
Housing
just
Par-
at one?
On the Housing Partnership
Yeah.
Committee, yes, I believe you have 2 openings.
Two
uh,
openings.
With the addition of Ms. Law.
Mhm.
Okay.
Next item is Conservation Commission. We have 3 openings. Once again, Nick, I don't know if you want to, I know you've
I
posted.
thought you were saying we had 3 people coming on. I was
No.
like, that is so wonderful.
No,
Deb, I tell
we're
you.
up 2, down 3. So we're-
Okay.
Once again, I know you published this, I believe.
Yes.
Anyone who's interested in getting involved in the town, obviously it's a wonderful town. You don't have to get involved to the level that like to elected official level or appointed level, but to get on a board like this, it's a wonderful help to the town. It's a wonderful help to the various commissions, and you're doing something good. So, anyone out there who we actually have, I might as well put these together. We have 3 openings in the Conservation Commission and 1 opening in the Never Dull Zoning Board of Appeals. So, once again, anyone interested, feel free to come down to Town Hall and let's see, you should submit a cover letter and resume to the Board of Selectmen at 60 Center Square, East Long Meadow, or via email to Nick at nick.bro@eastlongmeadowmass.gov.
And while we're advertising, don't we have an opening on the LCAT advisory board?
There is at least 1 opening on the LCAP board. There may be
So-
2.
Somebody's interested in that. Don't want to make anybody uncomfortable in the audience.
Just point. No,
Just point and whistle.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, certainly all the committees have important charges and do a lot of great work for the town, and I know the board's very appreciative of volunteers
Yes.
who do that. The Conservation Commission, while it doesn't have urgency today, there is urgency because there is currently a vacancy. It's a 5-member board. There's currently a vacancy. There is a member that would, if there were somebody to step in, would resign. I believe that, they're hanging on to do their duties. They feel that responsibility, but they do need to step down as soon as possible. And then there's another longtime member, Mr. Kingston, who is planning to resign from the commission come June 30th. So at that point, I'm assuming that people will step forward. People always do here in East Long Meadow, but at that point, there's a potential to only have 2 people, which would not be a quorum for that committee to meet.
So they couldn't get any work done.
And that's a very busy
Yeah.
committee.
It is a very busy committee.
And
yes.
George has been a member for,
I believe 26 years or better or more.
his hair was brown back then, wasn't it? I should talk. Anyways. In any event, okay, so we've got our little notice out on that. Item 14, I think we sort of discussed that when we were discussing the warrant items, so I think we'll table that whole thing for now. Item 15, the personnel evaluations. I know we've got all of them in from the department heads. We've got, I think, if we all,
No.
okay, no, that's fine.
I just-
I didn't mean to
And I
put
was
you on the
looking for
spot.
yours
There they are.
to comment on yours, because I figured I could just piggyback, and they weren't in the office, so if I
Okay.
can just,
Okay, so we'll continue to get those evaluations
It will be
finished on
done.
our part, and then we'll compile them and see where we stand.
exactly.
Next item is Board of Selectmen agenda process. I believe Selectman Thorpe, this is your
Well,
little
yeah,
baby?
I had just asked for that to be placed on there for a little bit of clarification. We do receive this stuff on Friday. Usually, what happens, if there are any additions, it's usually additional information that we're having to support some of the items that are on the agenda. However, I will say, the information with regards to the voter registrant, that came in late this afternoon, so that wasn't on the agenda. And I just wanted to make sure that people knew that
Right.
there is a
Right.
process that if you see papers coming in at the last minute, it's usually saying that it's supportive information. And Lorraine does a great job of trying to call us ahead of time, letting us know that there's a change, and Nick does as well. And so,
All right.
I just wanted to say that.
If I may piggyback on that and ask the board sort of a question. I know we have noon on Friday is basically the deadline to get information in for the meetings with few exceptions, as you
well.
stated. But one thing that I guess hasn't really been clearly stated is the public forum. I would like to make a motion to make noon on Friday also the date to be, if you're going to be part of the public forum, to have your name in by then. So we don't have any, not that we can't handle last minute requests, but we've had last minute requests, and it's just to keep things in a little better order. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments about that,
That's
but,
quite
You've
reasonable.
made a motion.
well, I'd like to,
Well,
I'd like to
you
make a
made-
motion. I'd like to move to make
You
noon.
entertain a motion.
Yes, to, that Friday at noon be the deadline to sign up for the public forum on any given week.
So moved.
Is there a second?
There is a second.
Any discussion?
The only discussion that I would have, at some point, I would like to revisit maybe having it, information moved where it's a little bit earlier than Friday.
Okay.
But that's certainly a discussion at another time.
Sure. All righty. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. We don't have any time before the, I don't know if our, Nick, could you find out, we have a 7:30 hearing, but I don't know if the, okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I think that may also be an executive.
Yes.
Yes.
So should we move to executive now, or announce the hearing?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that the board consider finishing up business and
Okay.
and having
Yeah, there's not
executive at
that
the
much.
end.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. That's true, too, and our town council isn't here yet. We do have labor council. Okay, under new business. We have a request from the Unico Club regarding a one-day liquor license, Friday, April 25th, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., St. Luke's Church, in conjunction with a wine tasting night. Insurance is on file. I'd like to make a motion to approve this request.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
It's a wonderful event, by the way. I went last year. We have a request from Reverend Peter Swar, St. Mark's Episcopal Church, for a one-day liquor license, wine, on Friday, April 4th, 2014, from 6:45 p.m. to 9 p.m., and also for an entertainment license for the same day and time in conjunction with their Paint and Sip fundraiser. Insurance is on file. I'd like to make a motion to approve both of those requests.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
We have a notification from the chairman of the, what is it, LEPC?
Lower Educational Pine, nope,
No.
no, lower, no.
That's
It's-
the Local Emergency Planning
Yeah.
Committee.
Yes. Regarding.
That's what she was
I was
saying.
trying to make it up.
Yes. Reg-
Pioneer Valley.
Yes. Pioneer County, regarding Skywarn Weather Spotters class, Thursday, May 29th, 2014, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the East Long Meadow High School. And MMA legislative updates. There's one on Chapter 90, Nick.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was information that really started out with just a notice to the board about veteran service legislation that's moving through the state legislature. That talks about rules related to veterans' employment, education, housing, and then also requirements that are being proposed for certifications for veteran service agents. So I've forwarded that information along to Mr. Comerford for the Eastern Hampden County District. In the meantime, looking at the MMA and receiving an MMA email, there are also Chapter 90 legislation that's being looked at, and that, looking at $300 million in annual funding over the next 5 years. And then also legislation that's being looked at to expand early voting. And what the MMA is, their position is that they would ask that communities contact legislators to talk about unfunded mandates that these may have. Unfortunately, there are at times unintended consequences with this type of legislatures. The board.
will change.
Okay. Should we go through Board of Health quickly?
Okay, let's,
Oh, okay. Sure, hi. The contract is 3 years at $61,000 versus $82,000. I don't understand why he says ton, but.
No, ton.
Oh,
Yeah,
per
it's
ton.
$61 a ton versus $82 a ton, which is what we're
Okay.
paying.
And so that's pretty good. We just need to sign off on it. Is that correct, Nick?
Right, Madam Chair.
Please
this is,
expand.
This is, the board at the last meeting, I believe in executive session, had the last session about the Covanta contract, and this is an opportunity for the board to discuss what the agreement is and how it would be of benefit to the town. would you care for me to just give a brief explanation?
Absolutely.
So what the board negotiated as part of a regional effort that's been going on since, I believe, May of last year, is to contract with Covanta for services that relate to getting rid of solid waste, the trash, all the trash that's been picked up in town. Not the hauler, not Republic Services that brings it to Covanta, but how to get rid of it. So they have a burn facility I believe technically it's Agawam. So anyway, the board has a 3-year agreement that it's signed where the town pays a tip fee per ton and of trash that gets dumped there. Currently, at the end of this current 20-year agreement, the tip fee is at $82 and change. The board's negotiated now for a fee next year of $61 a ton,
That's great.
which in the first year alone of the 3-year agreement should save somewhere in the neighborhood of 65, well, maybe $70 to $75,000 on that portion of the bill alone. And it goes up to 62 in year 2 and 63 in year 3, which is far more reasonable than the CPI that the town has had to adjust to every year.
Now, I mean, that coupled with how great our residents do with recycling, and the money we make on that, I think that it's fabulous.
I would
It really
agree.
is.
I would agree.
I think the board, is to be congratulated on that, and it was a good effort regionally
Yep.
Yeah.
with the other towns.
Excellent, excellent. I think that's wonderful. Thank you, Nick. The scholarship update is that we do have 5 people that have applied for the scholarship. They have sent their videos over. I will be sending those. You're not out of office officially until the 8th, so I will be sending them to you, and you can let me know who you would like to be recommending, so we can make that announcement on the 15th. Okay? Then, with regards to the Wildlife Forum, just to recap, we had Mr. O'Connor, our animal inspector, did a phenomenal job, and why can't I think of the young lady's name? There was Miss Maruzzi came. She's a wildlife regional wildlife person, and she came in. She gave a presentation. If you'd like to see that presentation, it is available on LCAT. I certainly advise you to look it over. It has to do with living with wildlife. There were some questions about our coyotes and seeing them, and there were some concerns, and so we were quick to address it. So that is a resource that you can refer to. It will tell you some of the do's and don'ts with wildlife. And good job to Tom on a job well done, our animal inspector / animal control officer. Speaking of which, we need to nominate the nomination of the animal inspector for the period of May 1st, 2014 to April 30th, 2015. And I know we're recommending Mr. Thomas O'Connor for the animal inspector. He has been the one that has done it in the past. I'm not so sure about the second name, but certainly we can have a discussion about that at this time.
You mean person B?
Yeah,
Well, she's his,
but she has not been the animal inspector. There's only been one animal inspector, to my understanding. And that goes into a budget problem. So I don't have a problem approving Mr. Thomas O'Connor at this time, and certainly that should be a discussion for a later time about.
Isn't person B already there, though? In the
Not
budget?
as an animal inspector, she's an animal control officer.
Person B.
Yeah. Animal control officer she is.
Okay.
But for the inspector, we've only had one because of the training and stuff. I know she's taking some
Okay.
classes, so I just wouldn't want to, you know me about approving something before it happens.
Okay.
So I certainly will entertain a motion for the approval of Thomas O'Connor for animal inspector during that period of May 1st, 2014 to April 30th, 2015.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
So that passes. The next is the funeral home license renewal for Forrester Smith Funeral Home located at 220 North Main Street. He's licensed with the state, and I'll entertain a motion for that approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'll just say this, Nick, there haven't been any complaints with regards to that fine establishment over there? Okay, so hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that passes. And that is all I have.
Okay. Since we might as well just go into executive session for everything, now that town council's here, we only have, Jim, is there only one item that's not executive under your, sorry, I didn't mean to. That would be item 27, if you got some number. Okay. Okay, so we can say that there's notification in the LIP program, which is, was it low-income properties, the low-income
Local
partnership?
incentive
Okay,
program.
took a shot. There's a certain area in town around Schuyler Drive where the houses are set for low-income housing, and they're sold at effectively a reduced rate as opposed to their market value. Am I explaining this correctly?
Correct. It's actually moderate and low-income housing, and there is a deed rider or restriction on the parcels that limits the amount that they can be resold for. However, to maintain that subsidized sale price, an owner of the property must notify the state and the town, Board of Selectmen, of their intent to sell. We did receive a notice from no relationship, Dennis Donahue, that he and his family intend to sell their home. I would suggest to you that the administrator should call them tomorrow and tell Dennis that this is an insufficient notice. The requirements of the program are that along with the notice of his intent to sell, and he sent it to the state, he needs to submit, maybe it is submitted, I didn't get it, if I did, I apologize, a copy of an appraisal, a current appraisal of the property showing what the current market value is, and the amount. Do you have it?
We do.
Fine, then I'll shut up.
I've been involved in a couple of these houses being sold and bought, and I know the families who buy the houses are just so thrilled to have the opportunity to own a house at what would be, less than the market value, and it's a wonderful thing, and it's helped some families out. And in that regard, I'd like to make a motion for us to exercise our option to procure a purchaser for this property.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Now, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss matters of non-union contract negotiations, grievance, and I guess that would be it. Jim, if you can help me with this.
Grievance.
Yeah,
To consider a complaint brought against a officer appointee of the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
And also with respect to litigation, to have a discussion with counsel on potential litigation.
All right. To return to open session, only to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Selectman Thorpe?
Yes.
Selectman Bronski?
Yes.
Selectman Federici, yes.